We will return with the true light after this brief intermission. Now is the time to ask questions of your leaders, teachers, and preachers. Where did all the races of people come from? Why did John have to baptize Jesus at the Jordan? And why do the four Gospels contradict each other? The answer to these questions can be with only one man, as Sayyid Imaam Haadi and Mahdi, the man who has written over 150 books on such topics as, is there life on other planets? How were the pyramids built? What race was Adam and Eve? And was the Holy Quran made up by Muhammad, or was it a divine scripture sent from the Most High? And what is the difference between the spirit and the soul? The answer to these questions can be found in the most dynamic books in history, authored by Sayyid Imaam Haadi and Mahdi. These books can be purchased at the original Tensakeeta at 719 Bushwick Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11221. Would you like to see the man behind the voice you hear teaching the total truth? He is there at the Hall of Knowledge located at 548 Hart Street, Brooklyn, New York. Every Saturday and Sunday at 1 p.m., the Nubian Islamic Hebrews would like to invite you to question and answer classes with Sayyid Imaam Haadi and Mahdi. Come listen and learn. Hear the words of truth for yourself. Hear the answers to long-awaited questions. Also for your spiritual growth, an intricate design woven prayer rug designed by the hand of Sayyid Imaam Haadi and Mahdi. Also available are prayer beads, incense, and oils. If you would like any further information on these items, contact the original tents of Kedar, 719 Bushwick Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11221. And be sure to ask for a listing of the most dynamic books in history, authored by Sayyid Imaam Haadi and Mahdi. Now let us continue with the true light. Remember, you are the light, and you have the power over all things.
First, Allah taught me many years in Quran how to live and how to raise my children. But the Hadith taught me things that it made me the woman that I am today. Allah sent the angel Gabriel with the word to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that on the last days there would be more Muslims in clothes and in names than by faith, and that the believers would be all alone in the world, and I bear witness to that. And sometimes, you know, it's better to be alone and just wait for Allah to come for you.
But you have to understand that I understand what you're saying. When you read the Quran and you read sections that say وَتَصِمُوا بِالْحَبِّ اللَّهِ جَمِعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and hold on to Habl Allah as a jami'ah, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, as a community. You said all the right things. You want to set your life patterns after Prophet Muhammad, right?
Yes, sir.
But the Prophet Muhammad left Mecca because they couldn't practice and went to Medina and set up a what? A community called the Ummah.
Yes.
And he lived in this community, and he said laws around a community of Bayt al-Mal, everything, the madrasa, you know, the khalwa of Quranic classes. This was community living. He, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, enjoined that. Now the point about hadith is that I understand fully that you can get guidance from hadith on how to do certain things. That's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is you can do that with the Jehovah's Witness book or a Seventh-day Adventist book too, and to them it looks right. I'm saying to be safe for your children on Yawm al-Akhir is to realize that the hadith are from men, not from Allah. We do not say don't read hadith. Ansars read hadith. We say don't read any that does not match the Quran. That is our point. There are hadith that comply directly with the Quran. We have no gripe with that. It's only when you come with certain hadiths. For instance, it says in hadith that when Aisha was to Rasulullah, one of the wives of Rasulullah, used to have her menstruation, he used to lay his head on her lap and she would braid his hair. This is supposed to be Bukhari hadith. We know that the Quran says when a woman's on a menstruation, a man is not supposed to touch her. So somewhere along the line, somebody's misleading us, and it's too dangerous for us to try to sit here and differentiate which hadith is right and which is wrong when we have the Quran. And we could just try to live the Sunnah instead of reading books of men. You made a very good point. The devil is very deceptive. That could be Bukhari and Shafi and Maliki and Hanbali too, and Muslim. All those guys will write the hadith because nowhere in the Quran does it tell me and you to expect the hadith to come. And see, here's another thing Muslims do. Muslims throughout the Arab world take the New Testament of the Bible of St. John's and say that the Comforter is Muhammad. But when it comes to the part where he shall not speak of himself, only that which he hears shall he speak, then all of a sudden they become numb on me. Because if Muhammad was not to speak of himself, then there'd be no sayings of Muhammad. Everything he spoke would be from Allah Ta'ala by way of the angel Jibreel. And when Jibreel came to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam in the cave, just what did Jibreel say to him?
Iqra.
That's all he said to him. He said, Muhammad, Iqra. Which means what? It means read. It doesn't mean recite, doesn't mean to talk, doesn't mean atakallam, at the hadith, to conversate. It means read something previously written he held in front of Muhammad. And said, Muhammad, Ya Muhammad, Iqra. And he said, Ya Jibreel, ma ana biqariyan. I am not a qariyan. I am not a reader. Because at the time, the most prominent thing men did was read poetry. He said, Ya Jibreel, ma ana biqariyan. I am not one who utilizes the ability to read. He says, again, Muhammad, Ya Muhammad, Iqra. And he said, Ya Jibreel, ma ana biqariyan. He kept repeating this over and over again. Why did he keep repeating it? Because he was trying to get Rasulullah to recite a specific section in the Quran. Right? We Muslims know the secret of that section. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi. What was he telling him? Muhammad, recite something in the name of someone. Who was it that he was speaking of?
Allah.
That's right. He was telling Muhammad to recite in the name of Allah. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaqa. Khalaqa al-insana min alaqa. Iqra wa rabbuka wal akram. Alladhi alam bil kalam. Alam al-insana ma'lam ya'lam. What is he telling him? He's saying, read Muhammad using the name of the sustainer, which is Allah, who created everything. خلق الإنسان من علق. He created man from a gushing forth fluid, which is semen. Iqra wa rabbuka wal akram. And your sustainer, establish that your sustainer is karama, is generous, honorable. Alladhi alam bil kalam. He taught people by way of the quilt, the pen. Alam al insana ma'lam ya'lam. And he taught human beings what lam he did not ya'lam know. You see that? Then he goes on and makes a very important statement. Kalla inna al-insana la yabtagh. What does it mean? But understand this, that man is an inordinate creature, a disobedient creature. You understand? He's telling us who we should rely on and who we should not rely on. And when he was giving this Quran to Muhammad, he was telling him to rely on Allah and the Quran, not men. Not men. And Bukhari and Shafi and Hanbali and them are men. I don't care whether we call them the companions or not, they were men. They were not divine. تَنَزَّلُوا مَلَائِكَةِ وَرُوحُ فِي. We sent down the angels in that feet, and the Spirit was with them in the Laylatul Qadr, in the night of power. The point is, I understand it's easier to have men explain to you how to live. But that is what's wrong. The way to live Islam is not meant to be easy. Because we're trying to earn our way back to something that we were offered by Allah as a gift, Hadiyth, and we turned down. We started out in the garden, remember. We was in the same garden, Jannah. And Allah said, eat of everything. I've given you all of these things. But in the midst, in the center of the garden, I have to put this tree for will, for man's willpower. Don't touch it. And what do? We went right to it and ate of it. And he said, now that you've done that, you're going to die. You're going to know good from evil. You split the atom, Adam. So get down from this Jannah to earth. We've done this to ourselves. Earn your way back to paradise. Earn your way back to the likeness of Allah. And that's what we've been doing. But when men come along in many disguises to deceive us. And but I always ask Muslims every time I meet, whether I'm in Egypt or in Saudi, I say, show me anywhere in this Quran where it says we should follow somebody's hadith. Please show me. And they can't. And I say, then why should I do it? Because you say so? Because it was collected after Muhammad now, not while he was there. Show me, please, somebody, so I would know. I do see in this Quran multiple places where it refers me back to the Torah, where it refers me back to the Injil. I see names in here. I see Jacob. I see Isaac. I see Moses. I see Jesus. I see Jonah. I see Lot. I see Zechariah. I see Elijah. I see Elias. I see Yasin. I see Luqman. I see all of these names of men who I find in the Torah. But I don't see Bukhari, I don't see Shafi, I don't see Hanbali, I don't see Maliki, I don't see Muslima, I don't see none of these men in the Quran mentioned. I read this Quran backwards and forwards many times in many parts of the world. And I asked men who were scholars when I was in the university in Khartoum, I asked them. When I was in the university in Durman, I asked them. When I was in the university in Qahira, I asked them. When I was in Syria, I asked them. When I was in Saudi, I asked them in Medina. And none of them could show me. I said, okay, then please show me somewhere in this Quran where it tells me not to read the Torah and the Injil. Please show me. And they couldn't do it. I said, show me anywhere in this Quran where it said the Torah and the Injil is tampered with. And they couldn't do it. He said, it doesn't say exactly. I said, but this Quran is an exact text. It doesn't make mistakes. And I'm not going to mislead my children. I know the Quran came from Allah. I know the Torah came from Allah. I know the Injil came from Allah. I know the Zabur, the Psalms came from Allah. But I don't know about these hadiths. And until someone can show me them in there, I'm going to raise my children on the scriptures of Allah. And that's the Quran and Torah, the Zabur and the Injil, and the hadith. The Quran tells you what to follow. It says, follow Rasulullah and this text, the Quran. It does not give us an alternative. And it's frightening for the children that you have to feel alone in the world when there's a community that says, well, come home where people are like you are trying, and we're going to fuss and fight in here, we're going to go through all the same things, but we're trying at least together, and we'll fail, and we'll cry together, we'll fuss together, we'll scrape together, but it will be together the way Rasulullah did with his people in the beginning. They fought together, they cried together, they got defeated together, but it was together. And that's how we have to do it. We have to be an ummah to Rasulullah, a community, a nation of his, not individuals. We can't be individuals. We got to come together and tolerate each other, as hard as that may seem for us as a people. Go ahead.
Bismillah. Aki, I don't know. We do need hadith.
It's just that you have to understand that as an American, you have a problem with language, and in doing that, we end up getting misinformed. Like, okay, you got a Quran. If you open the Quran, if you just read it, it tells you that the Quran is the hadith. It tells you in the Quran. That, that's what I'm saying. In the Quran, the 39th chapter, the 23rd verse will tell you that the Quran is the hadith. It says, Allah nazala ahsan al-hadith, right there. Allah has sent down the best hadith. Open the Quran and look right there in Arabic, you see it.
I know that.
You see 39, 23? Says Allah nazala ahsan al-hadith. Right? You see that there?
I'm seeing it through my eyes.
I'm saying right there in the Arabic it tells you that the Quran is the hadith. Allah has sent down the best of hadith, a scripture that is consistent, it says. Then in another section in 31, 6 through 7, it says the same thing. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْتَرِي لَحُومَ الْحَدِيثِ. Don't buy hadith. All I can say is that you don't need books by men when you have the Quran. The Quran is total, and these hadith are misguided books by mortals to take people away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if when you were studying your Quran, you was in the right guidance then. You didn't need none of those other things. You had the right guidance. And don't let anyone take you away from Allah. If you open the Quran to 25:30, it will say the same thing. And Allah, the apostle, will say, my sustainer, my people have deserted this Quran. They have deserted the Quran. It tells you right there in the Quran, 25th chapter, the 30th and 31st verse. وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ. It's telling you that his people, the apostle has said, my sustainer, my people have deserted the Quran. We thus set up against every prophet enemies who are wicked. It's telling you, it's warning you against people who will leave the Quran for writings of men. Write these chapters down and study them when you get home. 45, 6 through 11. It says, woe to every sinful fabricator. It tells you right there about hadith again. These are Allah's verses. Tilka ayatullah. We recite them to you truthfully. Bil haq. In which hadith, besides Allah's verses, do you live in? Please someone read that out loud. 45, 6 through 11. Read 45, 6 through 11. It tells you right there. And the word in there is hadith.
These are the communications of Allah which we recite to you with truth. Then, in what announcement? But the word here is hadith.
Big word is hadith. But they translate it in Pakistanis put an announcement. In what hadith? Right there in Arabic. Write the word out on the blackboard and explain it. Hadith. In which hadith then will you put your trust in? And then it says, besides Allah and His verses, they do believe in. Woe to every sinful fabricator. It's telling us that people are going to fabricate books after this Quran called hadith. Right in the Quran, but no one can show you in the Quran where it says you should get guidance from them. But I'm showing you in the Quran, the word hadith is in there, saying don't follow them. Show them the word, so they'll see, because you have to know the truth, because the truth will make you free. Nobody can pervert or change Allah's words.
The Quran has been tampered with too. Here you said that we shouldn't call Allah God.
That's the translation.
Yet in the Quran it talks so much about
That's the translations. That's why that's not tampering the Quran, that's translations. That's why the first thing I said is you people have to let your children learn Arabic so that they don't get caught up in these confusions and these men's opinions. If those kids spoke Arabic, they would never even get to the word God because there is no word God in Arabic. So the main thing is the problem here is a lack of understanding the language, and you got to care about the kids enough to get them to get the language so that they don't be sitting around doing what me and you are doing now later on in life, because we could be arguing over little word meanings and waste a lot of time. But if you get the kids to Arabic, which you can't teach them yourself, your father, then they will know the truth and it won't be so easily misled. You didn't know the word hadith. Most people don't even know the word hadith is mentioned in the Quran as something that shouldn't be read, because the people who come over there teaching them are Pakistanis predominantly or Afghanistanis, and they don't know Arabic well enough. It's a lack of understanding the language why people are so misguided. That is the whole thing. You can't compare hadith to Quran. They're two different kind of Arabics, first of all. One is the Arabic of a man, and the other is divinely inspired from Allah. And the Arabic that's in the hadith is not the same Arabic of the Quran. They don't even use the same terminology or grammatical structures. One of them is man's writings, and it's obvious when you read it in Arabic, and the other is divinely inspired, which is obvious when you read it in Tajweed or Tartil of Quran. This is very important. I'm not trying to verse you, I'm just trying to help you, because I met many Muslims along the path of my life who have been misguided by men, and they don't realize, like I just showed you in this Quran, there are people that turn away from Allah, it says in the Quran. They turn away and they forsake the Quran, the writings of men. It says it in the Quran, and it uses the word hadith in Arabic, but none of those translators put it there because they wasn't trying to wake y'all up. They didn't want y'all. They hate me. They hate me because I come along and I point out words and the meaning of words, and I'm conscious of racial differences and colors and hues and where people come from because Allah is conscious of it. They hate the fact that I point these things out. But the truth must be known. And in the scriptures, Allah tells me and you to look out for men who will give us hadith. Simple, right in the Quran. It's right there. I'm quite sure the brother put it on the blackboard. We have
hadith. I keep showing.
That's right. It's hadith.
Show me where in the Quran it says hadith.
Okay. Open your Holy Quran. You got it?
Yes.
And open it to the 45th chapter. And we go to the 6th verse. We have, in English, they say, these are the communications of Allah. Because I believe you're using the Shiite Quran also, right? Now let's look at the Arabic. Tilka ayatu Allah. These are the signs of Allah. Natluha, alright, which are recited alayka on you bil haq, by way of the facts or the truth. Right? Fabi ayah. And now listen now, you see that word that follows that? Fabi ayah. You see ha, dal, ya, fa. You see that? Then after that it says ba'dallah. The word you see there, right after that fa, ba, alif, ya, is ha, dal, ya, fa. That word is hadith. These are the communications of Allah, which we recite to you with truth. Then, in what hadith, after Allah's signs, ba'da Allah wa ayatuhu, yu'minun, will you believe? Woe, wailin likulli afakin athim. Woe to every sinful liar. It's telling us right there the word hadith. Do you see that word hadith there? In the Quran, it's telling us not to follow them. It said the Quran is what was given to you, Muhammad. Tilka ayatullah. Bil haq. So now in what? So in which thing, ayah, which is ayah, hadith. So which of these hadith, ba'da Allah ayatuhu, after Allah's signs, yu'minun, will you put your faith? After the Quran, it says ba'da Allah. The next word of hadith is ba'd, which means after. Ba, ayn, del. After the, now what is the signs of Allah? The Quran. Al-Quran. It says right, what things after the Quran are you going to put your faith? And the only book that came after the Quran is the hadith. And it has the word hadith right there in Arabic. It's right there.
So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So Akid, so Allah sent Rasulullah, and we can't follow his teaching.
We have to follow, yes, we have to follow his way of doing things. And where did he get his way of doing things from? He got his way of doing things from Abraham. Open the Holy Quran at chapter 2, verse 130. It says, وَمَنْ يَرْغَبُ عَنْ مِلَّةِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ إِلَّا مَنْ سَفِيهَ نَفْسَهُ, which means wa and man. Who is it? Which is ragaba, who turns away or forsakes or leaves or forgets or tries not to follow. And about Millah, the religion of Ibrahim, illa, except for men, he who safihu, is a fool, nafsahu, within his own spirit. And if we go to the same chapter, the 136th verse, it says, say, قالوا آمنا بالله وما أنزل إلينا وما أنزل إلى إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب وأسباط. Say this, Muhammad. We believe. آمنا بالله, by way of Allah. وما أنزل, and what was sent إلينا, to us. وما أنزل إلى إبراهيم, and what was sent to Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob and the tribes of Israel. وَمَا أُوتِيَ مُوسَى, and what was given to Moses, وَعِيسَى. You see that? وَمَا أُوتِيَ النَّبِيِّينَ, and what was given to all of the other prophets, مِنْ رَبِّهِمْ, from their sustainer. لَا نُفَرِّقْ بَيْنَ أَحَدٍ. No, we don't make any mufarriq, no distinctions بَيْنَ أَحَدٍ, between any of them. مِنْهُمْ وَنَحْنُ لَهُ مُسْلِمُونَ, and we are indeed Muslims. This is the religion we're supposed to be following according to the Quran. This is what Allah taught us, and this is the religion that Muhammad followed. You know why the problem comes up in America so difficult in other places? Because if you was in, let's say, Sudan, in my country, you would have been raised in the Sunnah. Because things people do in that environment are natural, as they don't need to read hadith there. Because they've been living how to fast, how to circumcise, how to marry all this time. It's only because it's something new in America that you got to go to these books for this guidance. You follow? What the Ansars here are taught is the same way that Muhammad Ahmed al-Mahdi alayhi salam taught the Ansars in Sudan in the 18th century, who got it from Ali and Fatima, who was the beloved daughter of the Prophet. So in Sudan they live a certain way. That's why our brothers wear a certain type of jalabiya. Our women wear their face covered a certain way. We do certain things certain ways, because we have our sunnah as passed down to us to a silsila. You don't have to read hadith. We got it from our fathers. My father taught me how to pray, and my father was taught by his father, was taught by his father, who says his descendants is straight back to Mustafa Muhammad al-Amin, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So I know how to live.